Welcome to our Mad Men series. This episode, Adolf Hitler. No one on Earth wouldn't know about Adolf Hitler. But mostly all they know is that he is the man behind World War II and Holocaust. His hands are stained with the blood of millions of innocent people, and a tremendous amount were put into concentration camps. He was killing children, sterilizing people, exterminating those who wouldn't obey, faking money, and so much more. Welcome to this episode of the Mad Men series. Today, we will be utterly portraying Adolf Hitler. So, let's get started with his early life. The first thing you should know about him is that he was a complicated figure. He was born in Braunau am Inn, Austria in April 1889. He might have been a German leader, but he was an Austrian. No one is a born criminal, but they become one later in their life. The very first stride begins in the family. His father Alois Hitler would constantly beat him and his elder brother with a whip. It is said that one day his father bashed him 36 times at the age of 11, because he wouldn't give his father the satisfaction of crying. The second most influential person who defined his character is his teacher Leopold Poch. He is the person that gave him the ideas of German nationalistic ideology. From then on he began to express his loyalty to Germany. He left secondary school at the age of 16. His artistic career. It may sound strange, and it doesn't fit his profile, but he always dreamt of becoming an artist. His father didn't really allow him to chase that dream, but when he died in 1903, he moved on to Vienna and applied to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, but he was rejected twice. He was good at architectural designs, but he lacked detail. At 18, his beloved mother, who was supporting him, died. Then he had to live his life in poverty and would at least try to sell his postcards and paintings. He lived in isolation, and this is where he formed most of his ideology. When he became the Führer or leader of Germany years later, he would raid the museums and take valuable art and add them to his private collection. World War I service. To prove his loyalty, he joined the Bavarian army. He was assigned as a regimental message runner. At the Battle of Somme in 1916, he took a wound on his leg. While in 1918, he was temporarily blinded by mustard gas. He received the Iron Cross Second Class Medal in 1914 and Iron Cross First Class in 1918. He was beloved for his bravery on the battlefield. But then in World War I, Germany surrendered and was forced to sign the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. Germany lost a huge chunk of territory, and he wasn't happy about it. That is when he took a dark turn. Hitler in power. Hitler blamed Jews and his home socialists. In 1929, he joined German Workers' Party, which was later named the Nazi Party. At first, this was a small party, and in 1928 they only got 2.6% of the votes. But Hitler's oral skills raised him in the ranks of his party. He would engage in propaganda topics, and made a good impression of the party on the civilians. In just a few years he was the sole leader of the party. In November 1923, he was arrested for treason. Hitler led 3,000 people to the streets against the police. He was sentenced to 5 years but only spent 9 weeks in jail, where he wrote his first book Mein Kampf, in which he defined his political vision. It was purely based on racism and outlined the hatred for Jews and communism. In 1932, he won 37% of the votes and lost to von Hindenburg, but he was assigned as the Chancellor in January. Soon, he became the Führer, or the leader of Germany, through his dark tactics. Another peculiar fact about him is that under his rule he stopped all the experiments and cruelty to animals. But this also has a dark side, because the early experiments were directly tested on humans. In other words, no animals but humans were used for testing. World War II. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland and hoped that Britain and France would let this matter slip, but they didn't. On the 3rd of September, Britain and France declared war against Nazi Germany and World War II started. Poland didn't last long, and it was taken down in just 35 days. On the 10th of May 1940, the Nazis started invading France, and after 6 weeks on the 25th of June, France also surrendered. This was one of the greatest revenges for Germany. Hitler hated communism to its core, so he broke the Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact, that was signed just before invading Poland. Hitler's army wasn't enough to take down the whole Soviet Union. And then the D-Day or Normandy landing started. Now Germany was losing on two front lines. His other great enemy, the USA, had also joined the war against Nazis by now. At Stalingrad the Nazi army was outnumbered by the Red Army, and they couldn't invade the city. His commanders surrendered despite the disapproval of Hitler. That is when his downfall started. It was the first time he was personally criticized. He still believed that the Nazis would be able to take out Britain and USA, despite the USSR. As it turned out to be a loss, the opposition against Hitler grew, and this is how the Nazi war took its final breaths. It is believed that in his lifetime, there have been more than 20 assassination attempts on Adolf Hitler, but he survived each one of them. The Holocaust. The Holocaust lasted from 1941 to 1945. It was a genocide of European Jews during the ongoing World War II. In this genocide, they killed over 6 million Jews. The Holocaust is also known as the Shoah. It was around two-thirds of the Jewish population, and all of them were murdered in the occupied European territory. They carried out the genocide in so many ways, like mass shootings, exterminating them through labor, gas chambers, and concentration camps all over Europe. His death. There are so many controversies around his death, but the most famous one is when Soviet troops closed in on his Berlin bunker. He already had accepted his defeat. He took his own life in the underground bunker and shot himself in the head. His wife Eva Braun, whom he married just the day before, also took her life the same way. It was 3:30 p.m. and they had taken cyanide before doing that. There is also a more controversial theory, that involves Hitler managing to escape to Argentina, living to old age. The summary of his horrific acts. Now that you know his story, it is time to summarize his bad deeds. He had exterminated at least 6 million Jews in the Holocaust, killed 5.7 million Soviet civilians and 3 million Soviet prisoners. When he conquered Poland, he brutally murdered 1.8 million Polish civilians. When this wasn't enough, he murdered 250,000 disabled people, because to him they were like weaklings or parasites. He also shot down 250,000 Santi and Roma people, 3,000 homosexuals, and the list go on and on. Overall he had killed around 32 million people, of which 1 million of them were children. Final thoughts. Adolf Hitler was an agitator and a dictator with a dreadful ideology. He would empower others to do the bad deeds for him. They were following his orders of killing children, the disabled, innocent civilians, and much more. The legacy of Hitler is a dark chapter in world history, being a notorious killer of about 32 million people. He is known as one of the most dangerous totalitarian leaders in history. I am sorry to say guys, but you have reached the end of this episode. Now don't forget to press the thumb up and subscribe to the channel for more Mad Men episodes. Lastly, mention your thoughts about the madman Adolf Hitler. And please let us know if there is any other dictator you would like to see in this series. See you at the next episode.